This week on Dance of Joy, we talk about background banners, biker beer bars, and we have our first brother-sister mind meld. All that and more as we watch Season 4, Episode 11 of our favorite 80s hit sitcom, Perfect Strangers. Hello and welcome to Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast. My name is Sophia. I'm one of your hosts, and joining me as always is my brother and co-host. What's up, Imran?
What's up, sister? How's it going? I was inspired by this week's episode. I was going to join a new club.
A new club?
I was going to join a new group. But then I remembered the Groucho Marx line, his famous quote. I refuse to join any club that would have me as a member. And you know what? I agree. So then I just sat on my couch and watched TV instead.
Well,
it's a lot more satisfying than joining a club.
That does sound satisfying. Also very appropriate for today's episode of Perfect Strangers, which is Season 4, Episode 11, entitled That Old Gang of Mine.
Is this a reference to anything?
It is. Ooh. That Old Gang of Mine is an old, very popular song that is often used in barbershop quartet.
Oh.
The original song was made in 1923. It was very popular. It was originally composed by Ray Henderson, the lyrics by Billy Rose and Mort Dixon, and published by Irving Berlin.
Oh, it's an Irving Berlin song.
And then it appeared in the Ziegfeld Follies of 1923. It was used a lot in vaudeville, and it became like this huge, popular, million-seller song. But in 1923, a lot of different artists recorded it. One of the most popular versions was in June of that year by Bill Murray, not that Bill Murray, Billy Murray, in fact, and Ed Small. And that version went to number 1 on the charts. And we have a little clip if we want to hear it now.
Do we want to play it?
Let's do a little clip.
Well, this is so old-timey.
It's so old-timey.
Say you're looking good. What brings you down to
my neighborhood? I saw that
just
coming.
Looking for the best pals that I ever had. I never thought that I'd want them so bad.
It's so old-timey. It's old-timey, and the guy says old-timer in the song. Well, I didn't know, first of all, I didn't know Bill Murray was that old. Good for him. He looks great.
Billy Murray is a different guy.
And second of all, I love a barbershop quartet. These people, they're so talented. They can cut hair, and they can sing 4-part harmony. I mean, that's amazing.
I love anything vaudeville. Lots of fun. So that's the reference I think we've got here with the name of this episode, That Old Gang of Mine, although we didn't quite hear the clip where they said it.
I trust them. They say it. These old-timer songs take forever to get to the chorus.
All right. And if you were to open the TV guide ahead of this episode, you would have read this description. To overcome his heartbreak when Mary Ann moves to London, Balky joins a club, the Motor Psychos, bikers who plan a hair-raising initiation for their newest member.
Oh, he's joining a club. Good for him.
I want to know about this hair-raising initiation.
Motor Psycho's clever play on word. Also, this episode's cast, of course, Bronson Pinchot as Balky, Mark Lynn-Baker as Larry Appleton. We got the lovely Melanie Wilson, Rebecca Arthur as Jennifer Lyons and Marianne, and Belita Moreno and Joe Marie Payton coming in as Lydia and Harriet. And then some bikers that we'll talk about.
Yeah, some special guest stars. Cast as the bikers. But we'll talk about them a little bit later. This episode aired on January 13, 1989. We are getting well into 1989.
Perfect Strangers, of course, streaming on IMDb TV or Amazon Prime, so you can catch up and binge and rewatch for free to your heart's delight.
All right, Imran, let's get into it. Act 1, we actually start with this weird external shot of the apartment building, and like we're looking at the external, but we're hearing voices from the inside. Something we don't see a lot in this show, but this episode has it. And what we hear is Jennifer's voice, and the girls are saying goodbye, And we hear Jennifer tell Marianne, okay, we've got to hurry. You'll miss your plane. Okay, Marianne, say goodbye. And so then we cut to the inside, and Jennifer and Marianne are leaving, and they're saying goodbyes to Balky and Larry. And then when we pan out a little bit, we see there's a big banner. You know, they love banners in this apartment.
Every occasion has a big. You got to have a banner. Otherwise, how do you know what the occasion is?
There's a big banner that says, goodbye, Marianne. And goodbye. Where's she going?
This is so strange. First of all, jumping into the end of a conversation.
Yeah,
the end
it's a
of
very
a party,
strange beginning to an episode. Yeah.
Some big information is just happened, and we don't know what it is yet.
But we find out very quickly with one little phrase, but no details, but we get the big gist of it. Balky says, good luck on your new job. And that's all we get.
Is she not a stewardess anymore?
Marianne is going away somewhere for a new job. We don't know the backstory. We don't know what the new job is. We don't know what led to it or
I'm
what
so intrigued.
Discussions they've had up till this point.
Is this like a big career change for her? What's happening?
She has already decided she's leaving. Anyway, Marianne says, thanks. I'll write every day. I promise. They say their goodbyes. And Balky's like, goodbye. And they leave. And then we're left with Balky and Larry in the apartment. And Larry says to Balky, I guess you're feeling a lot of pain right now. Balky says, well, she's going away, but that don't change our feelings for one another. And she'll stop by when she's in the neighborhood. So Balky's not really we know that Marianne's going somewhere for a job.
Balky's just nonplussed about it.
Balky's just like, it's fine.
It's fun. We'll be fine. I hope. Wish her well. He's completely in a great frame of mind right now,
He's in a good place, yeah.
Yes.
But then Larry has to do his Larry thing, and he can't believe what he's just heard Balky said. And then here we find out a little more information about where Marianne's going. Larry says, stop by when she's in the neighborhood. Marianne is moving to London.
Oh, London.
So this is a big move, but we still have no background.
Well, it could still be a flight attendant.
She's a flight attendant,
promotion,
yeah. It could be. But she's moving to London.
Right. If she's a flight attendant, you don't
need to move. You just fly around.
I feel like she got a whole nother job. But we don't know what that is.
We don't know. That's not important. Not important.
Unimportant. Don't think about it, listener. Try not to think about it, sister.
Try not to. But here we get the first joke coming up of the episode. Larry says, I know what you're feeling. I've been there. And Balky says, you've been to London?
It's great. But Larry goes, no. And they're sitting on the couch now. He sits Balky down. And he said, so we just said, Balky's in a fine state of mind.
He's totally chill
about it.
Leave it
to Larry to screw the whole thing up. Larry tells him, I've had a traumatic experience like the one you're about to have.
What?
And so now he's projecting some
pain. Much, yeah. Larry?
Yeah. So Larry continues with the story. When I was in the 5th grade, I was in love with Carolyn Schmeiser.
Uh-oh.
Every day, we'd eat lunch together, walk home from a school holding hands. And then one day, she dropped a bomb on me, Larry says.
And Balky goes, she was a terrorist?
This is great. I mean, okay, so it's 1989. The 80s were filled with
some
terrorist movies, terrorist actions.
There was some stuff in the Middle East against the U.S.
Yes,
in
and
the
it was
80s.
the time where every action movie, the bad guy was a stereotypical one-dimensional Arab terrorist, right?
Yeah.
So still a funny line, though.
She was a terrorist. Yeah, this joke holds up today, sadly.
Yes.
She was a terrorist? And Larry is just kind of annoyed with what Balky said, and he goes, no.
The Balky goes, the bomb, was it a water bomb?
And Larry goes, no.
And then Balky goes, a flea and tick bomb?
What is a flea and tick bomb?
That's the thing you set off to get rid of fleas and ticks. But he just can't get over this bomb, Balky.
And Larry's getting really annoyed. He's like, just listen. And then he says, just listen. And then Balky sits up straight and puts his ear toward Larry.
I'm listening.
As if to say, I'm listening. Yes. So Larry explains that Carolyn's father bought a cattle ranch in Texas and that she had to move away. But she told him she would write every day and she'd come back for summer vacations and they'd always be together. And Larry's telling this very heartfelt story. And then Balky goes, a lip balm? He's still on the bomb.
He's still on the bomb.
Although now he's changed it to a different kind of balm.
It's fantastic play on words. Sounds the same.
Lip balm?
He has a lip balm. Unless he dropped a bomb on
Who
me.
told you to put the bomb on?
I'll put the bomb on. Why'd you put the bomb on?
I didn't tell you to put
I
the
didn't tell you
bomb
to put the
on.
bomb on.
All right.
Seinfeld reference. Sorry. Some of you get that.
Yes. So a lip balm. And now Larry's like super annoyed. And he says to Balky something which I thought was very mean. He goes, try not to speak until I point to you.
It's super condescending. Yes, Larry.
So mean.
Well, look, Larry's trying to get his story out, right? So now he's handling the situation. And then Balky agrees and sits up and is taking his advice. And Larry continues. He goes, I got a letter from Carolyn every day, then once a week, then a card at Christmas, then nothing. And the girl I had loved was gone forever. And as he's talking, Balky is getting sadder and sadder, and his lips are quivering.
Some good face acting.
And it's just very quiet, and I love this long pause, and then slowly Larry just lifts up one finger in the air, and then he slowly points to Balky, who just blurts out, that's the saddest story I've ever heard.
Oh, and he's very moved by the story, and he blurs this out, but then he goes, what does that have to do with Marianne?
Not getting the story.
And Larry, here's where Larry continues to be very not sensitive and just make the situation, a fine situation, worse. Larry explains that it's the same thing, that Marianne's new life in London is going to be filled with glamour and excitement, and she's going to be too tired to write, and she's going to forget to call, and she won't have time to visit. And then he says, Balky, she means well, but face it, that chick is gone.
Oh, my God.
What are you doing, Larry?
Way to just crush Balky.
He was fine.
What are you doing? He was absolutely fine. He's like, that chick is gone. I think he's being a little mean because didn't he go through this with Jennifer? And Jennifer got a promotion, and she's going to leave.
We're going to talk about that later.
I think he's taken out all that frustration on Balky.
But Jennifer didn't leave.
She didn't, but he never got to vent.
Okay. But anyway, Balky kind of is thinking the same thing we are, because the next thing he says is, cousin, I had no idea I hurt so much until you pointed it out to me.
And then Larry puts his hand on his shoulder and goes, hey, that's what friends are for.
Oh, my gosh. What
Larry,
a jerk.
Bummer. You're so mean. Why are you making him sad?
What a downer.
In fact, he has messed up Balky so much. We cut to the next scene. It is late at night in the apartment. The lights are out, but Balky is sitting in the kitchen at the kitchen table, just looking out the window, blankly staring, as Larry shuffles out in the middle of the night in his pajamas, turns the light on, and goes over to Balky. He goes, Balky, it's 3:00 in the morning. What are you doing? And Balky goes, I'm listening to the refrigerator turn on and off.
Oh, boy.
He's clearly
so sad.
He's very depressed.
So Larry suggests that he try to get some sleep and because they have to get to work in a few hours. And Balky is just distraught now because of Larry. Thanks, Larry.
It's all Larry's fault.
He says he doesn't care. It doesn't matter. He can't eat. He can't sleep. He can't do anything except think about Marianne. And he starts crying on the counter. And then here's Larry again trying to be very not helpful. Balky's like sobbing on the counter.
Yeah, Larry, how about some helpful, kind, reassuring words
some
here?
Sympathy?
Yeah.
And he goes, you feel like you want to die, don't you?
Again, not helpful,
Not
Larry
helpful,
Appleton.
Larry.
Oh, God. And Balky looks up and he collapses again. And Larry here does try to offer some advice. He said, if you want to stop thinking about Marianne, you know what you have to do? You have to get yourself a hobby. Is this good advice?
Well,
I'm not sure.
Then Balky, who's still sobbing, says, this is so funny how he says it. He goes, a hobby? And so Larry explains, I don't know if this is helpful advice. We'll find out. Larry explains, he needs something new and different to take his mind off of Marianne. And he, in fact, got over Carolyn Schmeiser by taking up photography.
That's how he got into photography?
We have a little bit of background on Larry and how he got into photography.
Always unrequited love will get you into
And
things.
He spent so much time taking pictures that he forgot all about her.
Really?
And he even, Balky says, really?
Really?
And he even joined a photography club and met a lot of people. Really? Balky says, really? Larry's like determined this must be a good idea for Balky. And he asked Balky, there must be something you've always wanted to do. And Balky's like, no, there isn't. And he says, there's got to be one thing you've always dreamed of doing. And then Balky suddenly goes, oh, there is one thing.
Oh.
Sheep vaulting. And
sheep vaulting? That's amazing.
And he says it's the #1 spectator sport on Mypos. And he says, I was actually there when Tony Tomopoulos jumped over 37 sheep in one vault.
Ooh.
Unfortunately, he was trying for 38.
Oh, no.
On Mypos, they still use that shot at the beginning of Wide World of Sports. They call it the thrill of victory, the agony of the sheep.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Okay, first of all, great mental image.
Yes.
Sheep vaulting. You guys, I imagine, is there a pole? Do you run up?
Yeah, what do we think sheep vaulting is?
Is there a little springboard like it's like a regular vault in the Olympics? But
I'm
you springboard?
imagining a giant slingshot rigged thing where a bunch of people take a sheep in a sling and walk backward with it.
No, you're vaulting. You're jumping over the sheep.
Oh,
the sheep is not vaulting anything.
Oh, that's true. That's a different interpretation.
Yes, you are
vaulting
like
the sheep.
Evil Knievel style. You are jumping over a lined up row of sheep.
How do you get the sheep to stay put?
That is a very good question. Grass? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
That's a very good question.
Sheep vaulting. That's
true. And then
true.
a great reference to the ABC Sports TV show,
we might have
Wide
to
World
explain
of Sports.
this. Wide World of Sports. It's not still on, is it?
I don't believe it's on, but it ran for many number of years, I believe.
Yeah, so this was a classic sports show, and there was a tagline at the opening of the show that said the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
Yes.
Which is what Balky has turned into, the thrill of victory, the agony of the sheep. And on the actual show, when they said that, there was footage of a ski jumper.
Oh, yeah. We mentioned this before in the episode.
I think so.
I think in the when they went skiing.
Bogotage, slipping at the bottom of the ramp and crashing over a small outbuilding to the ground. And that image became synonymous with this tagline, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat.
The Wide World of Sports was on for 37 years, from 1961 to 1998.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Okay, 1998.
We talked about this exact thing, and I can't remember what episode it was.
Probably the
skiing episode?
Yeah, so now they're reusing references, but it was still on, of course, in 1989 when this episode aired. And then also, it's interesting that Balky says that sheep vaulting is the #1 spectator sport on Mypos, because way back in a previous episode, Larry mentions that spitting for distance must be the foremost spectator sport on Mypos.
I think that was just Larry making fun of me.
That was just Larry. Okay, so
it's really sheep vaulting.
It's really sheep vaulting, yes.
Is there a pole? How do you do this? Somebody write in.
There must be a pole.
Yeah. No, I think
are the sheep fluffy or sheared?
Oh, that would make a huge difference, wouldn't it? I think 37 sheared sheep is an easier vault.
Yeah, because you can smush them closer together.
Absolutely.
We need answers, Balky. We need answers.
Yes, Balky. Anyways, we transition to the next scene, and we are at their work, the basement of the Chicago Chronicle, of course. And the elevator door opens, and Harriet and Lydia are there, and they hurriedly run over to Larry. And Harriet is all hot and bothered and excited, and she brings Lydia over. She goes, "Go ahead, ask him where Balky is." And Lydia goes, "Where's Balky?" Larry explains, Balky took the day off. And then Harriet goes, "Ask him why." And Lydia goes, "Why?" And Larry explains Balky has been very upset ever since Marianne moved to London. So he gave him a little advice about how to handle it, and he's out following Larry's advice.
And then Harriet says, "Now ask him what the advice was."
This time Lydia doesn't say anything. She's just like waves her head. She's like, "Give me the scoop."
And Larry says that he told Balky in order to take his mind off Marianne, he should find a hobby or join a club. He told him to check out coin collecting or model building or historical walks. And then Lydia cuts him off and she goes, "Balky is suffering from a broken heart and you told him to take a historical walk?"
Go take a walk.
And she says, "Take it from a professional advice columnist, Larry. Your advice stinks."
Boo. I'm with Lydia on this one.
I'm with Lydia. I agree. And so does Harriet. Harriet can't believe what she's about to say, but she agrees with Lydia. And then Lydia is so happy about that. She's like, thank you. And then here comes Harriet with the burn. She can't be too nice to Lydia. She says, if Balky doesn't get some help, he's going to end up as crazy as she is.
And then Lydia just loses it. She's like, why? You cannot pay me a compliment and let it drop, can you? Would it kill you to just be nice? And Harriet's like, I got one nerve left and you're leaning on it.
Oh my gosh. They're like frenemies. They're frenemies before that became a thing.
I want a whole episode of them bickering.
It was like
it's
a
hilarious.
love-hate relationship. Yes. They're always together, but they're always bickering. So why are they hanging out?
Solid burns from Harriet, as usual.
But Larry is convinced, and he's not moved by their criticism. He says, you'll see, Balky will be a new man once he finds a hobby. And they kind of like roll their eyes, and they leave in the elevator. And then, so they're out of the scene, and we have Larry in the basement, and we hear like a roaring,
engine revving,
a revving sound,
loud engine, and then
from the parking garage
what do we see
area.
Next? This is amazing.
Then we see Balky ride into the basement from the parking garage on a full motorcycle.
He rides in on a motorcycle.
Full motorcycle.
This is it's like a Harley with wide
like
handlebars.
Can you just ride a motorcycle into a building?
That's the garage exit there.
Yeah, but
how do you get in? You can get through is there stairs? I don't know. He rides his motorcycle right into the basement, and Larry's shocked. And then what he's wearing is also fantastic.
He's like in a leather vest, leather pants. He's got a tattoo on his arms are bare. He's got a mermaid tattoo on his bicep.
And he's practicing good safety. He's got a helmet with flames on it.
He's got a helmet, black ripped jeans,
his
chains.
Jeans are ripped. Yes, he's wearing
the whole deal,
vest,
like a stereotypical biker look.
I love the vest with the leopard fur collar.
Yeah, and no shirt underneath, bare arms.
It's amazing. Anyways, the whole scene ends with Larry just staring.
Larry's like, what
just happened? And that'll take us to the end of Act 1. Listener, you want to get involved in the conversation. You want your comments and observations shared every episode. Join our Facebook group where I post a thread to the episodes we will be recording. And you can leave your thoughts, questions, observations, Easter eggs. And you can meet other fans of Perfect Strangers. People have made good friends in there so far.
You can.
Because if there's one thing we can all unite and bond on, it's Perfect Strangers.
It is. Moving on to Act 2. We're exactly the same place we left off, in the basement with a revving motorcycle in the basement of the Chronicle, and Balky's sitting on it, and Larry is in disbelief, and Balky turns off the ignition so we have a little quiet to hear a conversation, and Larry's just staring at him incredulously, and Balky's like, I joined a club.
He goes, I joined a club.
And Larry says, the Peter Fonda fan club.
Okay, this is a great joke,
and it's a deep
very
dive, yeah.
late 80s joke. I got it right away. Did you get it?
I did not. I had to look it up and find the connection. There was one connecting piece here.
And that's what I felt like. People watching this today,
yeah.
You're not going to get this line, right? But I still got it because back in the day, Peter Fonda, famously known for starring in the movie Easy Rider along with Jack Nicholson that came out in 1969. A great movie, a road movie. Dennis Hopper's in it, right? And this was the counterculture, hippie, rebelling movie of the 60s that generation would glom onto. And there would be references to Easy Rider like all the time.
Yeah, so Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper play these
they were bikers.
Who travel through the South and Southwest. And then they're like up to all this like counterculture shenanigans.
This movie is so crazy that the scenes in the movie where they're using drugs, they're using actual drugs.
Are they really?
Yes.
Oh, man.
That's how crazy this movie was. Talk about method acting.
Easy Rider was like this film that explored like the hippie movement, the communal lifestyle, all the stuff from the 60s.
It is a classic movie. If you're into movies, it's one you need to watch.
I need to watch it. Yeah. I haven't watched it, and I did not know the Peter Fonda reference.
There you go, Peter Fonda.
All right, so Larry's like, did you join the Peter Fonda fan club? And Balky says no, he joined a club called the Motor Psychos.
The Motor Psychos, Larry repeats.
The Motor Psychos.
Third time, threes.
And then Balky tells us their tagline, if you're looking for trouble, we'll help you find it.
And he's all serious saying these lines, and then he takes off his helmet and kind of breaks out of it and goes, I think they're kind of a public service organization.
Yeah. And then he gets off the bike and puts his foot, raises his foot to lean on it.
Where he lifts up because he wants Larry to notice something.
Yes, he puts his arm on his leg that's raised, and Larry does notice, and he goes, "Oh my lord!"
We get an "Oh my lord" from Larry.
You got a tattoo, and we see it's a pretty cartoonish looking mermaid on his arm.
It's not a very good tattoo.
Not like a bad biker tattoo. It's like cartoony, and Balky says it's a loner. It's not a real tattoo. It's a loner.
It's temporary. One of those temporary rub-on deals.
But anyway, he is in good spirits, and he tells Larry that he was right. Joining a club was just what he needed to help him get his mind off of that person. And then he suggests Larry join the club too. Then we can ride our hogs together.
Larry's like, I don't want to ride a hog. I don't want to join a club. Larry has heard about the motorcycles, and he says they are awful people. Not a great reputation the motorcycles have, apparently.
Balky disagrees. He says they're a swell bunch of guys, and he has an initiation ceremony to get to. Uh-oh. Larry goes into fathering Larry mode. And he says, Balky, you're not joining that club. Balky says, yes, I am. And he turns on the ignition of the motorcycle.
This is a great bit.
Larry keeps talking, but we can't hear him at all. We just see his mouth moving because the engine is revving so loud.
All right, Balky, listen to me. And then Balky just goes, and then, you just see him mouthing words.
And then Balky drives further into across the scene to the right. It passed Larry, and then we don't see him for a bit, and apparently he had enough room to turn the thing around. Then we see him going back toward the garage in front of Larry and out of the scene.
This whole time, Larry is scolding him.
Yeah, but we don't hear anything.
Balky's not hearing anything.
It's a good little funny gimmick.
Because of the loud motorcycle engine. You know those things.
It's a good little gimmick, yeah.
And then the next scene, we transition to a new location. It is where the psychos hang out, and it's a place called Wild Bill's Beer Bar.
A very shady, dangerous place called Wild Bill's Beer Bar.
Clearly named, though.
As opposed to any other kind of
You know what
bar.
you're getting into. You got
a beer bar.
It's a beer bar, and it's a Wild Bill's.
Don't try to order wine at the beer bar.
And inside, this place looks like, I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, Roadhouse, with Patrick Swayze. A great movie. But there's a dive bar. It is your typical biker dive bar with
there's peanut shells
all over
the place,
tables and chairs strewn about, and
everybody's dressed like Balky in his crazy leather outfit.
There's wooden barrels, and it's just
a very
seedy place. Yeah,
stereotypical biker bar. I've never been inside of a real biker bar, so I can't tell you how accurate that depiction is.
I think it's pretty 100% accurate. There's a guy with little John Lennon glasses on,
and everybody's in leather vests
or denim
without sleeves. Yeah.
In fact, we see a very large man walking towards the door. And as he's walking, Balky enters the swing doors and bumps into this very large man and immediately goes flying right back out of the door.
So we get the beginnings of a lot of great physical comedy.
And the large man is so big, he thought like a fly hit him. He's like, he goes, what was that? Was that a breeze? Something hit me. And he just shakes it off and goes to the jukebox there.
And then Balky staggers back through the front door again. And he goes up to this large man and he says, hi, Cobra. And he's so excited. And Cobra calls him Kid. He says, hey, Kid, how you doing? And he grabs Balky by the neck and is shaking him around just to say hello. And Balky's totally comically, whole body is shaking. And he says, thank you. And then Cobra realizes that he's shaking him too much. He says, sorry about that. Balky says, that's okay. I got another neck. And then Cobra's he laughs. He slaps Balky on the back, and Balky moves several feet forward. Yeah,
this is a big man. We'll see exactly how big he is. Cobra by the way, you know his name is Cobra. On this show, people's names match the tattoos they have. He's
nice.
got a tattoo of a cobra on his arm. Remember in the birthday, he met Snake, and he had a tattoo. You know, it's Snake. You know that's his name.
Yes.
Cobra here is played by guest star John Matuszak. You may know John Matuszak from where, sister?
From the Goonies.
Goonies. Yes, this the guy played
Sloth.
He played Sloth. Chuck.
Yes.
Hey, you guys.
Yes.
Oh, my God. I love the Goonies, and Sloth was an amazing character.
And he's a really big, beefy dude. In fact, John Matuszak was a former professional football player who then got into acting, and he always played like these big characters, literally big characters. And the Goonie Sloth was the most famous of those.
You can kind of see that it's him. I mean, Sloth had these crazy prosthetics where he had like a pointy bald head and like his eye was in a different
you could see
half of his eye. He had like a fake
looks
eye.
The same, yeah.
But large man.
Sadly, later this very year of this episode, John Matuszak died from heart failure.
That is very sad. I mean, when you're that
must
big,
have been
too,
really
your
sad.
heart's got to pump extra hard.
So anyway, that is our Cobra. Back in the scene, Cobra announces to the whole bar, everybody, the funny kid's back. And everyone cheers. Hey! And Balky asks about the initiation when it's going to be. And Cobra says, you know the rules. You can't be a motor psycho till you get yourself an old lady.
He needs an old lady. Meaning what?
Meaning a significant other, a partner, a lady friend.
Right, but that's not what Balky thinks.
Balky says, oh, I know that rule. I stopped at the senior citizens home on the way over here. I got to tell you, those old ladies can really put up a fight.
I can imagine him at a senior center trying to wrestle an old lady on his motorcycle.
Old lady, yes.
And the lady's hitting him with his purse. Let me go, you crazy person. It's so funny. But Cobra puts his arm around. He goes, don't worry, kid. I'll take care of you. I'll get you one. And he just looks around. And the whole time, there's this woman sitting there at the table right there.
Eating peanuts
or something. And he goes, yo, Flame. And she gets up and goes, Flame will be your old lady. And Flame has also a lot of denim on and a headband.
Does she have a flame tattoo?
I don't know. She must have a flame.
Yeah.
I think she does have a flame tattoo on one arm. But she's got the full jeans and leather vest.
Oh, Cobra, by the way, is wearing leather like chaps over his jeans.
Yes.
Yeah.
This was quite a look.
It was.
He is wearing the leather chaps.
I was like, what kind of biker bar is this?
You know, and it's the kind of chaps that have your behind revealed if you weren't wearing pants like Prince did sometimes on award shows.
So now they settled the old lady part, and Cobra says, it's initiation time, and everyone cheers. And he goes, I'll go get the pit bulls.
Oh, my. What kind of initiation is this? You need pit bulls for this initiation?
Flame, the Balky's old lady, was played by a woman named Diane Delano, and she later was on an episode of the short-lived show that Bronson Pinchot was on after this called Migo.
I still gotta find that somewhere and watch it.
Yeah, it was about an alien or something.
Well, right.
And she had been on a bunch of other shows. The Ellen Show, ER, some other stuff.
Oh, she gets some good work.
Yeah.
She has one line, and it's coming up. It's kind of funny. That's about it. So Flame...
No, she has 2 lines.
Oh, she has 2 lines. Flame stands up and puts her arm around Balky, and she brings him to the table, and she pulls the chair out. And Balky's like, oh, thank you. Don't mind if I do. As he's saying that, she just shoves Balky down on the chair roughly and pushes the seat back in very roughly. And then she gets in the chair next to him and then just throws her leg
on the table
in front of him. That's how she likes to relax, Flame.
And at this point, we see Larry walk into the bar, and Larry is sticking out like a sore thumb. He's like, tiny one. He's got a jacket and tie on. He's not in the biker gear. He's the only one dressed in a jacket and tie. And then as he comes in, another biker is like passing him on his way out, and he just looks at him and growls.
He just growls.
Like, what?
It's like, yikes.
This is, I wonder if this was offensive to bikers at the time, because
I'm pretty sure it was.
It's so stereotypical and caricature.
I'm pretty sure the Hells Angels are like, this is some Baba Stiki right
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
They're nothing like this.
Just growls.
He doesn't even have words.
And then Larry looks around and he sees Balky sitting at the table with the flame. And then we go to Balky.
Balky's like feeling her leg that she threw up on the table.
And he goes, for an old lady, you're in remarkable shape. And Flame just says, clean living.
Yeah, she's chewing gum constantly.
Yeah.
Just smacking her lips. And so Larry walks up to Balky and nudges him. And Balky's excited because Cousin Larry is here. He thinks he changed his mind. And he wants to join the motorcycles. And he goes, now we're both going to be members. Now we are so happy. We do the Dance of Joy. And Balky starts doing his side of the Dance of Joy for like one beat when Larry
grabs his face and stops
He's
him.
like, stop it. No. I haven't changed my mind, Larry says. He came down there to talk some sense into him. And he goes, come on, let's go. And as this is happening, you notice in the background, Cobra slowly walking around. And he sees
comes
this.
Up behind
and he
Larry.
comes up behind Larry. And Larry goes, let's go. He turns around, walks right into Cobra's chest.
Yeah.
Like his face is in between his
like
pectorals.
his abdomen. Yeah, he's so little and Cobra is so big and he's just facing his chest like he walked into a wall.
John Mantzoukas is easily a head and a half. 1.5 heads taller than Larry is.
And
he is
beefier
giant.
by a lot.
Giant man. So Larry walks into his chest and Cobra just goes, who's the pocket yuppie?
Well, after he walks in, there's like a beat where he's just with his face in his chest. Then he slowly looks way up, cranes his neck all the way up, and he sees Cobra's face, and Cobra says, who's the pocket yuppie? What's a pocket yuppie?
Well, what's a yuppie? Do people still use that term anymore?
Maybe we should explain. A yuppie is a name from the acronym YUP, which is Young Urban Professional. So it was like young people in offices or like, fancy.
And this happened throughout the 80s, this transition of the
I don't think we
generation.
still talk about yuppies much, but
now it's like hipsters or analogous to like tech people, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But in the 80s, there was this whole trend. These young people making a lot of money, and they would always like, it was those dudes who wore like cargo shorts and they would have their sweater over their shoulder.
Jackets and ties.
So,
and then pocket is just talking about Larry's diminutive size here.
Calls him a pocket
yuppie.
It's kind of funny.
So funny. So Balky tells them it's his cousin Larry, and he said, cousin, this is my new friend Cobra. It's spelled just like the snake.
Not with a K.
And Larry is like very nervous. He's like, nice to meet you, Mr. Cobra. And Cobra's got this like, what do you call that kind of tie?
Bolo tie? Yeah.
So Larry's like being all nervous. He's like, oh, string tie. Nice look for you. I'd really love to stay and chat, but I just stopped by to get Balky. So if you'll excuse us. And they try to leave.
Oh, no. You're not leaving.
And Cobra stops them. He goes, hey. Kid stays. He makes us laugh.
I like that they like Balky because he makes them laugh. That's kind of nice. But Larry's like, oh, if laughs are what you're looking for, he's going to try to give him some suggestions. He's like, I can send you some comedy albums. He goes, do you like Steve Martin, Robin Williams? What about Jay Leno? All great comedians.
Yeah.
He goes, Jay Leno rides a motorcycle.
And then Cobra, like in this mean, gruff, like intimidating voice, he goes, Jay Leno's funny. But he's no Gary Shandling.
Cobra's got a point. He's no Gary Shandling.
These were all like big comedians in the 80s and before.
I never thought Jay Leno was.
I don't think Jay Leno's that funny. Can we say that in our podcast?
I think we could say that. I mean, maybe his stand-up was funny, but like his Tonight Show, I didn't need that.
I mean, I've seen him live.
Oh, yeah?
Maybe like several years ago.
Was he funny?
More recently, he was funny, but I didn't think he was funny on his show.
On the Tonight Show, I was particularly kind of annoying.
No, he was pretty funny live, yeah.
But he is a funny stand-up. But Gary Shandling's amazing also.
Yeah.
Anyways, as they're saying this, they're backing Larry and Balky back towards the far part of the bar. They're advancing on him. And Larry's like, I can get Shandling. But by now, they have backed him up against the wall, and the whole gang is surrounding Balky and Larry. And Cobra's like, you know what I think, pal? I think you came to the wrong place. at the wrong time. And then at that point, Cobra snaps his 2 fingers. And the 2 guys standing next to Larry grab him, lift him up, and hang him on a coat rack hook,
like
just
the back
behind
of his
him.
jacket.
The back of his jacket. They have literally just hung Cousin Larry on the wall like a painting.
Yeah, and we already agreed that there must have been some kind of harnesses in their jackets to achieve this next bit, which is like the funniest bit of physical comedy. So they've hung up Larry. And Balky tries to protest and be like, what'd you do to my cousin Larry? And Cobra goes, oh, it's just a little game we play. It's called target practice. Yikes. And then Balky starts to rebel a little bit.
Yeah.
And he says, Cobra, I'm starting to think there's a dark side to you.
He's not just getting this. There's
he
a
says,
dark
I
side
don't
to
think
him.
I want to be in your club. And Cobra's like, that's fine. He tells him he doesn't have to join, but they're still going to do the initiation. And Cobra snaps his fingers again, and 2 other gang members grab Balky and lift him and hang him on another coat rack peg right next to Larry.
Our cousins,
so they're both hanging there.
They appear to be in a lot of hot water when fate steps in to save them a little bit. Another gang member runs into the bar and goes, hey, a beer truck just overturned down the street. There's free beer for everyone. And everyone just goes, ah, and they all run out.
And we know they like beer. Why? Because they're in a beer bar.
Wild Bill's Beer Bar.
Yes.
Cobra hangs back a little and just goes, I'll be back, as he turns and leaves to get some of this sweet, free street beer.
So literally everybody leaves.
Yes.
And Balky and Larry are alone hanging on the wall.
This is the funniest part of the whole episode.
It's so funny. So they tried to unhook themselves. How do we even describe this?
Well, so Larry right away just starts reaching his arms and legs straight forward.
Off the wall. And it's
and nothing happens.
Funny. It's like he looks like, okay, imagine like, you know how a Barbie doll, like the arms and legs move?
When you make them sit down and you put their arms up?
Yeah, it looks like that. He just goes straight out with his arms and legs, trying to get, and he looks so small.
It's so funny. And that takes a lot of core strength.
He looks so tiny.
You think about it? It's like some good ab crunches he's doing there.
Yeah, he looks so small on the wall, trying to, like, he's really a tiny man.
And meanwhile, Balky is reaching up over his shoulder left and right, swaying back and forth, trying to unhook himself.
And they're doing this in unison, and it's really funny.
Arms up, legs up, and Balky's swinging back and forth. And finally, Larry's like, all right, Balky, stop. And then he tries to help Balky down. He goes, let me help you down. And of course, this isn't going to work, because how's he going to, without any kind of leverage, how are you going to get him down? Balky puts his hand on Larry's head as he tries to push down while Larry lifts him up, and they do the same thing they did when they were moving the piano, right?
1, 2, 3, lift.
Right? Except this time, when they say lift, Balky pushes Larry's head down and his chest goes up.
Yeah.
He expands his chest, and then he goes back down.
1, 2, 3, lift.
And,
they do the same thing. And then they do this a couple of times, it's not working, and then Larry's like, all right, stop. But then Balky keeps doing 1, 2, 3, lift, and pushing his head down. And Larry finally gets frantic. He's like, stop it! Stop it!
And this whole scene, Bronson Pinchot is trying not to crack up.
He is laughing
His
so hard.
His expressions are so good.
Watching this scene in particular gave me a real appreciation for how good Bronson Pinchot was at stifling his laughter and just carrying on in the scene. You know, if you watch bloopers from other shows, people just lose it and they have to do several takes.
They want to keep it live. They don't want to break. But even
Bronson
more so,
Pinchot was so good at just you can see he's laughing, but then he does away with it.
But how about Marklin Baker's focus?
Marklin Baker doesn't crack
never cracks.
at all.
And I mean, BP is right in his face about to crack up, and MLB
he's just buggy-eyed, focused, doesn't break at all.
You can't break it.
Both of them are so good.
So finally, Larry goes, Bucky, stop it. And then they did that thinking gesture where they put their hand on their lip and they both sitting there, but they're kind of swinging back and forth.
Swaying in unison on these
swinging back and forth. And Larry sees this chair over there. And he goes, Balky, reach for that chair. And what Balky does next makes me laugh so hard. This is the best. This is the best part of the episode. Balky looks at the chair and then swings his arms out gracefully and his legs
they
the other
go
way.
nowhere.
And the look on his face is just
calm.
He
Yeah,
looks like
it's
a
just like
painting of an angel in like a Michelangelo
or like
fresco.
a ballerina or
Yes.
something.
He's just like, and he sticks
Of course his arms get nowhere near the chair. But he's just like trying to reach it with his hands.
He tries to get, but just the suspended position he is in
it's
the
really
air.
funny. It's really hard to describe in a podcast.
So funny. Reach for that chair.
And so he reaches naturally with his hands, but that Larry gets aggravated again because that's not what he meant. And he says, Belky, with your foot.
With your foot. And again, Bronson Pinchot
with your
is laughing
foot.
when he says that. Because it's
reach with your
it's
foot.
So good.
Before we go on, I want to talk about this gag about people hanging on a wall.
Okay.
This was apparently, you know how we've talked about these recurring sitcom
TV
scenarios,
tropes.
TV
Yeah.
tropes, like buying a used car from the used car lot or teaching someone to drive in the living room. This apparently was one. We don't see it too much these days, but the same sort of situation was used on Happy Days, and it was also used in Laverne and Shirley, both of which were hilarious, of course. So, and we know our writers on Perfect Strangers were involved in those shows as well. So here we have another people hanging on a wall. Have we seen it
I don't know.
in more modern shows?
We need more people hanging on wall jokes.
Yeah, we need more people on walls. Less, and we need quicksand to come back.
Bring back the quicksand and galoshes. Yeah. Yeah, Larry goes, Belky, your foot. Reach with your foot. And so Larry's trying to help Belky, and he pushes him.
Oh my God, he's like full on sideways now.
He pushes
on
him,
the
pushing
wall.
Larry back and pushing Belky farther, and
Also
he does
really funny.
manage to grab the chair with his foot, pull it over, and Larry, he gets on the chair, and Larry helps Belky unhook himself.
Yeah.
So Belky is down, he is free, and now Larry's like, okay, Belky, help me down.
But before Balky helps him down, Balky has an idea, and he says, cousin, do it for me. Please,
Do
cousin. And Larry's like, no. And he's like, please, Mr. Scarecrow, which way to the Emerald City? And this, of course, is a Wizard of Oz reference, because we know that Bronson Pinchot is a big fan of Wizard of Oz. However, this little bit here seems very random and out of nowhere. Anyway, he says, Mr. Scarecrow, which way to the Emerald City? And then Larry is like, fine, I'll do it. And he goes, well, some people go that way. And he
points over
he does
here.
like a floppy arm pointing one way. Some people go in that direction. He does a floppy arm pointing the other way. Of course, people do go both ways. And he crosses both floppy arms in front of him. And Balky just erupts with joy. I love it so much. I love it. I love it.
So that was in the movie, I think, right? The Scarecrow does that in The Wizard of Oz.
Crossing arms for both ways.
Yeah.
But I don't know why hanging on the wall.
Because he looked like a scarecrow. The scarecrow's on the wall. What I love is right after that, when he's like, I love it. Larry's like, oh, thank you.
And he's like,
he snaps,
fucking get me down.
Yeah, then he snaps out of it. He's like, fucking get me down. But first he's like, oh, thanks. This is nice. So Balky goes over underneath, instead of using the chair, he goes under Larry, puts him on his shoulders, and pops him up off the hook. And now Larry is sitting on
his shoulders.
Balky's shoulders, real tall and stuff. And you think they're in the clear. They're starting to walk towards the door when the whole Motorcycles gang comes walking. I guess they got all the beer and they drank it. They come walking back in.
And here comes Flame with her next line. She goes, what's this? I thought I was riding with kitten lips.
Kitten lips.
She calls Balky kitten lips.
But I'm not sure what that means.
Yeah, I don't know that reference either.
Larry is riding kitten lips. I'm not sure.
They're trying to escape. Larry's still on Balky's shoulders, and then Cobra goes, get him! And Larry gets off of Balky's shoulders, and he grabs a beer bottle.
Uh-oh.
And he holds it up as if to defend themselves.
Yeah,
and they're
like upside down from the neck.
They're like surrounded they're being surrounded again by these bikers. And he's like, all right, hold it. Don't come any closer. And he hits the bottle on the table as if to break it and use it as a weapon. And it doesn't break. We just hear it goes dink.
Dunk.
Yeah. And he tries again and it still doesn't break. And then he starts hitting it repeatedly on the table, da, 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 and it still doesn't break. And then, with no lines or anything, Cobra just takes the bottle from him. He looks him in the eye, and he smashes it on his head, and it breaks into a million pieces. And he's like, "Is that what you were trying to do?" And then here we have a classic Balky Larry gag where they both start talking over each other, explaining things at the same time. Larry's like, well, I wasn't going for the head. I was going for the this and that. Da, 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 da. Balky's like, no, you were going to go this. And then there's a whole discussion about elongation.
Of the muscle.
And of course, there's labels on the bottle, blah, blah, blah. And then they stop at the same time and they look at Cobra and they're like, yes, that was it.
And they go, let's go. And they start to close in on them.
Time.
It's initiation time. And then Larry has a brilliant plan. I don't know if it's brilliant or these people are not as smart as they appear to be. But he looks behind them and points. He goes, look, there's Elvis. And everybody
turn around to look.
When they're like at the back of the wall of the bar. I don't know what you're looking at.
So does Balky.
And Balky's like, where's Elvis? I don't see Elvis. And he's like, cousin, I want to see. And he grabs him.
Yeah, and they start to, and they run out the front door. Now, why did he say Elvis of all things?
Well, after Elvis Presley's death in 1971, there was a
77.
Oh, 77, right.
Yes.
There was a common kind of conspiracy theory that maybe he faked his death and just didn't want to be famous anymore and just wanted to live his life out somewhere in quiet. So the joke was throughout that, like especially the 80s, you'd be like, I saw Elvis. It was like seeing a UFO or like the Sasquatch or Bigfoot. Yes.
So we don't see this reference too much anymore. I guess people came around and just accepted that Elvis died.
I think he's dead. Otherwise, we would have seen him.
It's not so much in our pop culture anymore to have Elvis sightings. But for a while,
it was a big deal.
It was a big deal. So that's why he said, "There's Elvis."
And you know what? Arguably, there was probably people that looked like they were an older Elvis, and you may have thought they were Elvis.
That's true.
Did he really die in the toilet? I don't know.
But here's the other thing. Was it a common stereotype that bikers would have been into Elvis?
Oh, everybody's into Elvis. Okay. Come on. He's the most famous person.
But again, like you said, they all turned. Again, I really want to know if bikers at the time took offense to any of this episode.
At the back of the wall? Where's Elvis? Well, look, Elvis did a lot of rockabilly, a lot of, that kind of music. Of course, bikers, everybody loves Elvis.
But, this isn't painting a favorable picture of bikers.
No, they probably all weren't bad.
No. All right. So they run out and they just run. And then they all notice and they take chase. They're like, get them. And they all run after them at the front door. But we find out in the next scene, we cut to the apartment and Larry and Balky run inside the front door and they slam the door shut and they lock the chain and the deadbolt. So they've made it. And Larry's like, are you sure we lost him? Balky's like, positive. He says, you didn't tell him where you live? He says, positive. Are you sure you never told them your name? Positive. And he goes, oh, good. I think we're safe. And Balky says, of course, I did give them your name and address as a reference. And Larry's like, what? And Balky says, just kidding. Cousins should joke more. Oh, my God.
Wait, that's the second time.
Cousins should joke more.
Yes, they should.
This is only the second time so far.
Such a good line.
Cousins should
joke more. I love that line. We should put that on a T-shirt.
Cousins should joke more. That's a bunch of T-shirts I got to make.
Yes.
So Larry walks Balky over to the sofa and he's like, Balky, let me give you a little tip. Anytime you meet someone with the word death tattooed anywhere on their body, stay away. And Balky goes, words to live by.
Yes. So they've just come back. They're full of adrenaline. They sort of like collapse on the couch. They're sitting there. And Balky tells Larry that he should have listened to him and he should have not joined the motorcycles. And Larry's like, well, I get why you did it. It's the only thing that kept your mind off Marianne. And then Balky starts sobbing again. And Larry's like, woops.
See, I think Larry did that on purpose.
Larry is such not a helpful this whole time.
He's not good. And so at this point, Larry, Balky collapses. He puts his head on the arm of the sofa over to the right.
Yeah.
So, right?
His face down.
His face down. And he cries, I'm never going to get over her. And then there's a knock at the door. And Larry just calmly gets up and opens the door. Hold on. Didn't you just running from the motorcycle?
Ran in. Yeah.
Lock the door. They were fearing for your life.
And someone
seconds
knocks
later,
and you just
you're
open
like,
the door.
hello.
You don't even
Let me open
ask
the door.
who it is. You don't check the
Come on.
people.
It could have been Cobra or Flame or both of them.
Could have been the whole biker gang.
They just suddenly forgot about the biker gang.
Oh my gosh.
Right away.
Yeah. So
Hilarious.
a little loophole in the writing there. Anyway, he opens the door and who's there? Marianne.
Marianne. What's she doing
And Larry
here?
says, Marianne. And then Balky with his face down on the couch says, do you have to keep mentioning her
Yes,
name?
he hasn't looked up.
And Marianne walks in and looks at the couch. Balky's still face down and she goes, Balky. And Balky's like, now I'm hearing her voice. And she goes, Balky? And he lifts up his face. He looks at her and then he looks at Larry and he goes, cousin, I'm hallucinating.
I'm hallucinating.
Cousin, I'm hallucinating.
I love it. Combining hallucinating and what?
Very Homer Simpson-esque.
Yes. Oh, yeah, like saxophone.
Yeah, hallucinating.
Saxophone?
Or is it a combination?
Hallucination and I am hallucinating.
Hallucinating.
I said it wrong. You said it right. It's hallucinating.
No, hallucinating.
Hallucinating.
The G comes first.
The C comes first.
CGN. Hallucinating.
That is hard to say.
Hallucinating.
It's a great word.
Anyway, Larry says, no, it's really Marianne. And then it's like the sweetest expression on Bronson Pinchot's face. He just looks at her and sort of like snaps out of it as if he's like really seeing her. And he goes, Marianne?
Well,
You came back. You came back. She said, I came back. And they're sort of like hugging and embracing. And Marianne's like, I came back. Nice outfit.
yeah, of course. She would love
Because
Balky's
he's
biker
still
outfit.
in his biker outfit.
Yeah.
And Larry asks her why she came back. And she says she had to. She missed Chicago. But most of all, I missed you. She says to Balky. And they hug.
Oh.
And Larry says he missed you too. And then it's just like all over. There's no explanation of like what her job was, why she came back, how she missed him. She's just back. And then Balky says, Marianne, you're not going to believe what happened while you were gone. I can hardly believe it myself. And he says, Cousin Larry saw Elvis. That is what she missed. Cousin Larry saw Elvis. And they both turn to look at Larry and roll credits.
Balky and Marianne have such great chemistry.
Yeah.
So much better than Jennifer and Larry.
Yeah.
But it was really sweet when she came back for him. She missed him. He missed her. That was really cute. Listener, get some Dance of Joy merch at our TeePublic shop because you'll look really cute also wearing our logo on these t-shirts and hoodies.
Yes.
But there's also mugs and cell phone cases and laptop cases. A lot of fun stuff. There's always sales going on.
Great merch. It's a great logo, and it's fun merch to have. It's one of a kind. Nobody else will have it.
It's very niche-y.
Except other Dance of Joy fans.
danceofjoypod.com/shop will get you there. Link in the show description. I think I did enjoy this episode. I think it was a weird premise to get Balky to join a motor.
It was
biker
almost
gang.
an unnecessary
Totally
premise.
unnecessary. You didn't have to do the whole Marianne was leaving thing, and it was like a weird, awkward beginning in the middle at the end of a conversation.
And here's another reason why I think it could have been unnecessary, because now, at this point, both Jennifer and Marianne have sacrificed professional opportunities to stay with their boyfriends.
Marianne could
which
have been,
I'm not happy about.
She could have been offered like a high-end
Of course, we don't know what her opportunity. With
making
Jennifer, it was a
figures.
promotion.
Yeah.
It was a promotion, right? With Jennifer back then, when Larry convinced her not to go. And Marianne, we don't even know what the job was. It was a new job. It was London. It was exciting. She didn't even try it for like a few weeks. She didn't even make it like 6 weeks or whatever. She made a few days, I think.
Just for their men, they will make these sacrifices.
This is not cool. This is not cool.
But
Perfect Strangers.
The hanging bit is so funny that
everything else was really funny. So premise aside, there was a lot of great physical comedy. There were a few good lines, good word plays. We had this guy playing Cobra.
You had Sloth. You had new characters, new locations.
So it was good. But we also had like a weird Larry being
really
kind of a jerk.
Yes. Yeah.
And not
really
sympathetic and really mean. And like he's the one who told him to join a club, and then he like
the
was
whole
like,
thing
not
was
this
Larry's
club.
fault. Stop reminding Balky that she's gone, Larry. Just shut up. What are you doing? What are you doing? Anyways, let's find out what our listeners thought of the episode, sister.
Okay, we'll start with cousin Pam Hitchcock, who writes, to me, the plot of this episode was let's get Balky on a motorcycle and see what hijinks ensue.
Yup.
Marianne going to London and Balky missing her was just a convenient thread. Yep, agreed. Why did Marianne have a new job in London? This is the same person who hinted to Larry to keep Jennifer from going to L.A.
Yes.
Larry and Jennifer did not have an established relationship, but Marianne and Balky do.
Very good points.
Another good point. Pam Hitchcock writes, guess this send-off wasn't important to anyone because all Marianne got was a pathetic little banner.
Nobody seemed to care that Marianne was, not even Jennifer.
Jennifer and her have been best friends since
they were 8, right?
Since they were 8, and Jennifer shows no remorse.
She didn't seem broken up that Marianne's
I don't
moving to London.
understand. Like, it really didn't sit well. And then finally, cousin Pam writes, I wholeheartedly agree that Jay Leno is no Gary Shandling.
Yes.
And then on this point, cousin John Adama agrees about Marianne, and he writes, the way it's handled telegraphs that she's coming back, and I'm confused why a flight attendant has to move to London at all.
Exactly.
Is she on the lamb or sheep?
Oh, she's on the sheep.
Balky could have just as easily met a biker and joined. It feels like a lame attempt to add gravitas that the episode does not need.
Nailed it, cousin John.
Yeah, cousin John always nails it on the wrap-ups. But there's more. Cousin John also makes a lot of good observations. So we're just going to read a few of them. He writes, and with Balky riding a motorcycle into the basement of the Chronicle, we officially enter the classic sitcom universe.
No, you don't have to explain it.
Yes.
You just do it.
You just do it.
Yeah.
Motorcycles is a great name for a biker gang.
Absolutely.
Balky may not be far off describing them as a public service organization. While there are still rough biker groups, many of them now focus on fundraising for things like animal shelters and children's hospitals.
Toys
That's
for
very
Tots.
nice.
Every year does the ride to get toys for
That's very
underdeserved kids. It's true.
And here's a really great comment. Riding hogs feels like a huge missed opportunity, especially after the sheep vaulting discussion. Yeah, there could have been some Meposian thing where riding hogs meant something else altogether, like actually riding hogs, you know?
Yeah.
He also, cousin John also agrees that Cobra is 100% on Shandling. Shandling was better than Jay Leno. And then cousin John also gives us these nice little wrap-ups, and here's this episode's. I enjoyed this episode much to my own surprise.
Nice.
To me, this felt the most sitcom-y yet.
Yeah.
There are no stakes at all. Regular characters who leave these kinds of shows never say goodbye. And this setup could have been used on any of the TGIF lineup. Remember Urkel infiltrating the dragons?
Yeah.
A very uninspired plot that's again elevated by the boys' physical comedy and charm.
Absolutely.
100%. Very good.
Chemistry and just the hanging.
Yeah, like without that, it would have
physicality.
been just like a weird and like flat episode.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of unanswered questions. There's things we wonder, but you forget about that right away.
Yeah.
Like right in the beginning, we said it was a weird opening, right? And you're like, why is Marianne leaving? What's her new job? But you completely forget about that once we get into the physical comedy and the rest of the situation, and it's a fun time.
You just go with it.
Yeah.
And, movies in the 80s, you don't even see this now. They all had unexplained things, and that's why they were great. You just went with it. None of it made any sense. But now, these movies, they feel the need to ground everything. Back then, there was so much suspension of disbelief. You didn't question that this duck named Howard came from outer space and is walking around, and it's all knows karate.
And you could die in sand.
Yes, you could fall in quicksand. But that has changed. But that's kind of some of the innocent 80s that I miss sometimes.
It's the innocence of the 80s.
Don't be ridiculous, not said this episode.
Of course I have. Don't be ridiculous.
Was there a Dimitri appearance?
Yes, Balky is not the only one who joined a biker gang. Dimitri has a very similar story to Balky's in this episode. Dimitri, in the beginning, is on the shelf with a lady sheep. Maybe
Dimitri.
A girlfriend sheep, yes. Maybe a Marianne sheep. And then in the second scene, it's only Dimitri. The lady sheep's gone.
Oh,
and
she moved to London.
Dimitri's upside down,
looking
sad, missing his lady sheep friend. And then in the final scene, Dimitri's on the shelf in biker gear.
That's amazing. He also joined the sheep biker gang.
The motor sheepos. We got a mind meld. We got a mind meld.
The
Listeners,
sheepos.
that was
That's
not
so
planned or pre-written in our notes. That was completely brother-sister vibes right there. We said the same thing at the same time. The motor sheepos. That's how you can believe that we are, in fact, siblings.
Yes.
All right. And now it's time for the segment of our show that we call Perfect Strangers Today, or PS Today, where we talk about if we were to redo this story and this episode today in 2022, how would things be different? Would things hold up? What adjustments would we make? What do you think, Imran?
Well, I was thinking about clubs and joining clubs and how, I don't know if there's still clubs, but there's like meetups.
There's meetups.
Virtual in-person meetups. So I feel like a meetup, like you could find a meetup for anything you're into. If there's another small group of people.
Are there biker meetups?
Well, the bikers just cruise around in their bikes.
Are there meetups in beer bars?
Yeah, I believe alcohol can be involved sometimes. It's either so Balky could have found like a meetup of like sheep shearers, sheep shearing fanatics, or something.
Also, today, sheep vaulting would totally be like an extreme sport on TV. Like,
oh, absolutely.
He could start that in the States, and it would be a thing. The sheep aren't harmed unless you miss.
It reminds me of like the Highland games that they play in Scotland where they're throwing logs and lifting up just rocks. And like, you can watch that on the ESPN sometimes. It's
I think you could get make sheep vaulting a thing now. Also, as you mentioned and as Cousin John mentioned, biker clubs now are more of social organizations. So, and again, like, I actually don't, I think the era we're living in now, there would be a lot of complaints from bikers. Like, this is not a fair representation. This is like,
it's outdated.
We are good like people. Like, this is really.
So what club could Balky join that's like actually like dangerous and unhealthy, but he doesn't see that? Like,
who are those people that jump off buildings?
Free climbers or
base jumpers, bungee jumpers,
rock climbers? I don't know.
No, I mean,
that's dangerous.
He could, I don't know, get into tattoos. That's not that dangerous. I don't know.
It would be like a gang. They're trying to show a gang, like a street gang.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's still
with an
gangs.
Initiation. Yeah. He could join a gang. Yeah. He could have been like, I met these nice guys on the corner and we're going to have an initiation.
Maybe it's like a drug cartel and they're using him as a mule and he has no idea. And they're like, cousin, they said just to bring this over the border for them and I could be in their gang.
Or like money launderers.
Oh, but yes, like Ozarks.
He could be an Ozark.
Oh my God, that's what it would be.
Balky would go to the Ozarks.
Laundering or counterfeiting money.
With Jason Bateman. Also,
Balky would be like, I joined the craft club. We draw money like from scratch. It's amazing.
I joined a laundry club.
A laundry club. That's it. We wash things and they're washing money. We learn how to. It's a laundry club. A laundry club.
And Larry's like, Balky, that's not what that means. You gotta get out of this club. Yeah, that's not what the same kind of laundry. Also, today, long distance relationships still suck. They're still difficult, but they're definitely much easier to maintain today than they were in the 80s,
you can
right?
Stay in touch easy.
You have video chat. You have like cheap tickets. You have, and we don't even know like how long she's planning to be gone for, etc. But my question for PS today was like, how in 2022, if you're trying to get over someone or like distract your mind from someone, but get over her, basically, he's trying to get over her.
Well, he would have
Is that the same advice you would give today?
You would have to like unfollow them on all like if you're following them on Instagram and Facebook. Like
yes,
you have to delete her. You gotta block her,
unfollow,
mute her,
delete.
Do you go and delete all the photos you have of that person on your phone?
And then do you get on Tinder?
Oh God! But then the other person, and then you see her there or him.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that would be awkward. That would be awkward.
So many a modern rom-com has addressed these issues.
But you're right. Long distance, like you could be texting constantly. It would get annoying. It's like I never left the person.
Yeah.
We're still right there and have a scheduled video calls or whatever. So
you don't have to hallucinate because you can see them in the phone
I said it right.
all the time.
Yeah, you didn't have you can see them in motion alive there.
Yeah.
So, but I think some of the premise, like joining a dangerous club that you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
That's still funny. That's always fun. All right, good stuff. Next week, listener, stay tuned. Guess who we're going to finally get to meet? I'm so excited.
Next week, we get to meet Carl Winslow.
No way.
Get out of the city.
Harriet's husband and
police officer.
Neighbor to Steve Urkel in the future.
In the future.
Also, he was in Die Hard as a cop. Great role.
Wow. Did he only play cops?
I think he only played cops.
Was he also Carl Winslow in Die Hard?
No, I don't think he was Carl Winslow. But the beginning of Family Matters, the seeds are planted next week.
Yes.
Finally.
Carl Winslow.
Carl Winslow.
Can't wait.
Listener, in the meantime, if you enjoy our shenanigans here and the fact that we both said the motor sheepos at the same time,
sheepos.
that make you giggle, consider supporting the show. Buy us a virtual coffee. Visit danceofjoypod.com/support. You can buy us a few coffees. You can buy us like repeating coffees. All proceeds go back into the show, ensures that we make the show every week, and we make it through the 8 seasons of this show. And who knows, if enough people are still around, maybe we start another show. I know I'm thinking way ahead.
Way ahead. And you got to keep listening because we might have that mind meld again. Maybe we'll say another thing at the same time.
That
Next
was
week.
crazy.
Maybe we'll try to do that every week.
There is someone who has been enjoying the show, and it's someone who recently left an amazing review for Dance of Joy podcast on Apple Podcasts. So if you're listening, my Donitas.
Thank you very much for your 5-star review. It was a wonderful review. Everyone go check it out.
And listener, you yourself can leave us a review in a number of places. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, feel free to leave a review there, 5 stars, put in a nice comment. You can go to our website, danceofjoypod.com. You can leave a review right on the website. I believe you can leave reviews on Spotify now and certain other apps, and Facebook on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
There's lots of places we would love to see. It's great social proof for other people checking out the show.
Yes.
We thank you for all the reviews you have given us so far.
Yes, and please be in touch. Let us know your thoughts. You can send us a voice message right from our website, danceofjoypod.com. You can send us an email at danceofjoypod@gmail.com or send us a quick note on any of our socials. We're on the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Instagrams. But Imran, what's the most important thing our listeners should do?
If you're riding a hog, you want to wear full leather clothing
except for your arms.
Except for your arms, for some reason.
Your arms must be bare so people can see your mermaid tattoos.
I see people riding motorcycles in like shorts and a t-shirt. And I'm like,
ridiculous.
If anything even slightly touches you while you're moving, you're going down.
This is getting
not safe.
Skinned. Yeah.
It will be very painful. But the other most important thing is to share the show, listener.
Absolutely.
Spread the joy, the dance of joy. Share it with the local charitable group /gang in your community.
Yes. Find your nearest biker gang social organization and share this show with them.
Thank you so much for listening. And now we are so happy.
Now we are so happy we do the dance of joy.
Hey, 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 hey.